Now, today, Sheffield Council's Cabinet will debate whether or not to ban a controversial device which has been widely used to prevent antisocial behaviour and youth nuisance across our region. Do you remember this? Yeah, I do, yeah. That's the sound of a mosquito device which has been put up at shops and in public places to deter young people from gathering and causing antisocial behaviour. It emits a high-pitched noise which can only be heard by kids and young people aged under 25. Obviously, we boosted it this morning so you could all hear it, all you old people out there. Last summer, a Council of Europe investigation said the device was degrading and discriminatory. Well, Sheffield councillors will today hear arguments against using it. Councillor Clive Skelton is Sheffield Council's Chair of Licensing and a supporter of the device. Harrison Carter also joins us. He's a member of the Youth Parliament and thinks it should be banned. Clive, you said last year that this device had been technically effective. Do you still believe that?
I do. It's been effective where we've used it, and that's only in 7 premises in the whole of Sheffield, and it's out of more than 1,000. In those 7 premises, something has reduced antisocial behaviour with young people. Whether it's the mosquito, it's very difficult to prove a negative, but it certainly has worked.
You are getting arguments against it now, though, aren't you? People are saying that it shouldn't be used.
Most certainly, and if I thought that they harm children or young people in any way, I'll be the first one campaigning to get rid of them. I've not heard any of that evidence, and the fact is that the ones we fitted aren't on permanently. They're operated by the licensee. If something kicks off, if they say they refuse an alcohol sale to a young person, and several young people then get upset and start kicking the door and various other things, it can be deployed to get rid of that problem, and then it's switched off again, and everyone else can go around their normal life.
You wouldn't allow them to deploy a baseball bat, though, would you? I mean, this is a weapon, isn't it?
Well, the baseball bat would harm a young person or harm anybody. If I had evidence, and I haven't, I have to say, and I have checked that this harmed a young person, I'd take them out myself.
Sure. Harrison, why do you want to see these banned?
Well, I think the mosquito device, my sort of contention with it is it doesn't discriminate between those who are law-abiding or antisocial. So if you've got a group of young people hanging around the shop having a chat, I mean, this isn't necessarily the case most of the time in Sheffield, because in Sheffield the device is turned on by the proprietor.
Which I wasn't aware of, I have to say,
yeah.
and that changes not that my personal opinion matters, but that does change my personal opinion a bit.
So it's turned on by the proprietor, but if those are hanging around the shop, young people, and the proprietor might just feel threatened, although they're not doing anything wrong, then what that does is it disperses those young people perhaps into residential areas. And I'm not being naive and suggesting that some young people or young people are never antisocial. I'm saying that some are, and if you're going to disperse them into residential areas, there's a risk that they can be antisocial there, and there's no mechanism to get rid of them there. And I think the council have made a good move in bringing this issue to the top of the political radar, because what it's doing is getting away from this destructivist idea that we can have these short-term devices or short-term solutions, which I don't think they are, and instead adopt more long-term things such as face-to-face work with people, being antisocial, things like that.
It's not the point, though. It's dead easy to kind of see the Star and read the news in there and get all worried about it and get a bit trendy and liberal and go, you shouldn't be abusing our kids like this. None of us are that off-licence owner who's got 4 lads kicking at his door because he won't serve them some white lightning. I mean, they do need something in their armoury to protect them, don't they? They
do, and absolutely right, they do need something to protect them. But I think that's where, you have a police force, and that's where you should, I think, have community services that will educate people about why antisocial behaviour is wrong. As I say, I'm not being naive and suggesting that some young people all young people are not antisocial, because I know some are, and a mosquito device is a mechanism to disperse them. It isn't a mechanism to educate them and make them think about what they're doing, and that's the danger, I think, in the device.
Good point from Harrison there, Clive. I mean, this doesn't educate them, but it doesn't change anybody's behaviour. It is a sticking plaster, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually agree. I mean, I totally agree with what Harrison's saying, and I would like to think that we could work with young people that are causing this antisocial behaviour and not have to deploy a mosquito. As I say, it's only 7 premises in the whole of Sheffield that we've actually, as a licensing committee, have authorised them. That shows that it's a last resort. So I think that working with young people has got to be the way to go. I still think, though, that they do have their place if they're deployed correctly and if they're controlled within the premises and not indiscriminately on all the time.
Do you know something, though? if that's how it's going to be used, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mosquito. It could just be your burglar alarm, your panic alarm.
Well,
that makes a load of noise.
I was thinking Barry Manilow songs or Cliff Richard might work just as effectively.
It could be, because the only time when I do get kind of trendy and liberal on this is when I imagine walking past the shop with my 7-year-old, and if I saw something that put her in pain, I'd rip it off the wall, Clive.
Absolutely.
And you do the same.
Absolutely. And that's why they're only operated by the licensee in Sheffield. They're not on permanently. If I thought for 1 minute that they were going to be on permanently, they wouldn't be deployed.
That's got to give you some comfort, hasn't it, Harrison?
It has, and it does give me comfort. But an organisation came out called the Fair Play Organisation, a national charity for young people, came out yesterday, as did the Children's Rights Alliance for young people in England. They've articulated their concerns with the mosquito device, and of course there isn't necessarily evidence to suggest it harms young people, but nor is there evidence to suggest it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's inconclusive, and so there is always a risk, perhaps, that it could harm young people. There is always a risk that if a baby's walking past and someone's got it on a private building, I mean, my issue here isn't with the council. I applaud the council for bringing this to the top of the political radar. As I said, my issue is with the device itself. So even on private buildings, you've got a risk that a baby going past in a pram is unable to articulate whether that's hurting them or not. This device, and
I didn't know, but can you just buy them? Can I go out and buy one and stick one on my house?
Quite easily, yeah.
Can I?
Absolutely.
You could do that.
They're not illegal, so therefore there are 9 in Sheffield, 7 that we've authorised, 2 that premises licence holders just gone out and bought themselves. And you could stick them all around this building if you felt like it, if you wanted to keep young people away, and have them on permanently.
No, that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's why I say if they're controlled and if they're deployed correctly, I think they are effective and they are a tool. Only one tool. I mean, I prefer to work with young people, obviously.
I mean, it is that thing, I just mentioned it, but being that lonely licensee, when everything's kicking off around you, I've been there. I've been in a pub where I refused to serve a group of lads who wanted serving.
Yeah.
And you can feel very alone for the 5 minutes before the police get there, and very threatened. You do need something. Surely pressing a button that does this is better than getting out my hypothetical baseball bat.
That could be true, but again, the problem is if you quite rightly haven't served them alcohol because they're underage, if they were then to hear this sort of noise that would aggravate them even more, there is always a risk of them being even more antisocial, and it's only acting as a mechanism to provoke them than to deter them in a sense. And as I say, by doing that, you've got a risk of them going into an area where there isn't a mosquito device, where there are residents, and posing a risk to those residents, and that's always a danger.
What's the discussion at council today then, Clive?
It's the cabinet have got receiving a paper, and I think the recommendations are to not support the use of mosquito devices. As I say, I don't support the use of them. I just think that in their place, at the correct time, with the correct evidence, they can be a tool. I would much rather not use them, and to be honest, if the cabinet go along that route, I'm more than happy to support that.
Clive, thank you very much indeed for coming in this morning. That's Cllr Clive Skelton, and Harrison Carter, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Appreciate it.